But first,
we're going to start this morning in Canada. President Trump speaking about that anti-tariff Ronald Reagan had before boarding his flight to Malaysia. Take a listen and we'll get some thoughts.
They cheated on a commercial. Ronald Reagan loved tariffs, and they said he didn't. And I guess it was AI or something. They cheated badly. Canada got caught cheating on a commercial. Can you believe it?
an update there. Yesterday, Ontario Premier Doug Ford announcing that these ads will be paused in an effort to resume trade talks between the US and Canada. For more now, let's bring in GOP strategist and political analyst Malik Abdul. We're also joined by our in-studio guests, New York State GOP Committeewoman Cherie Murray, as well as the host of the Cut the Bull podcast, Charles Love. Thank you both for joining us, and Malik as well. Look, Malik, I'll start with you. What do you make of this big crackdown?
Well, so if you're asking specifically about what's happening with Canada, I'm not sure if our foreign policies should be subject to how Donald Trump feels about an actual ad. There's a lot of things that we need to do as far as the trade war and a number of other things that the Donald Trump administration is working on rather successfully. I just think that saying that you're going to, basically retaliate against Canada because of an ad, I just think it's a bit petulant and probably not something Donald Trump should be doing.
Well, I mean, certainly we know ads move opinions, and Charles, we know certainly there is an ability for an ad to have an effect on the public, which ultimately could change the direction of policy. But I guess the question I have, we did hear that the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, said that Canada could pivot to other trading partners, even referencing Asian markets. I guess the question, Charles, does that give you any concern that our northern neighbor could actually become too friendly with one of our worst allies? Well, with one of our worst enemies.
Right, I guess it would depend on who it would be and what the negotiations are. Well, first of all, Trump is wrong. Reagan didn't love terrorists, first of all. I don't think that's true. But I think that's a bit extreme. But at the same time, I mean, I don't understand if you know how he is and you're in negotiations, you know the way Trump responds. It was not the best ad because it's going to, delay things. But Malik is right. He shouldn't be so, sensitive that because he doesn't like the ad. But as far as other partners, I think it's too early to be concerned. I don't think it's a problem now.
Okay, Cherie, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think that Canada was wrong for using this ad, and they totally edited it in a way where it showed that Ronald Reagan was in support of less tariffs, right? And how that is detrimental to our partners, our trading partners. I don't think the president is wrong. I think he's calling the shots and he's showing the rest of the world, do not play with America, especially when it comes to trading and tariffs. We've already exceeded $18 trillion in surplus, and I can't wait to see what comes next, and we're not even 1 year into his administration.
Okay, I want to welcome in now another guest, Diane Canada. She's on with us. Welcome, Diane.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
We've got a question and we want to pivot to the White House. We know that the East Wing has been completely demolished to make way for a new ballroom. What do you make of the fury from the left over this? Because we know, he's not the first president to actually make updates to the White House. Diane.
I completely agree, TW. Hi, good morning, Sarah. This is a wonderful thing. He's a developer. He's a builder. He's adding on and making it wonderful. I think he could cure cancer and they would find a way to criticize him. It's just unbelievable.
Malik, this is all being paid for by private donors, apparently. So why are people upset?
Well, for one, they don't realize that private donors, if this is being paid for by private donors. What you hear in the conversation out there is that the taxpayer shouldn't be paying for this. It doesn't matter if it were an East Wing renovation or being demolished, or remember what happened when Melania Trump, in working with the White House Historical Association and some of the other organizations, she actually redid the Rose Garden. People complained about that. People complained about Donald Trump paving painting over a patch of grass in the Rose Garden. So it's no surprise that they're complaining about this. I think that it is a wonderful idea, but I also think that what the Trump administration should do is talk about the use of the ballroom. Obviously, the ballroom is not going to be in operation 24 hours a day. They need to talk about what other uses they will have for that entire area to bring the American people into the story of the White House, which, as you note, has been renovated over and over again. Bring the American people in, and also talk about the American craftsmen and builders who are working on the project. I think from a messaging perspective, that's what the administration should do. But I'm all for a new ballroom.
Yeah, that's a really great idea as well, to just, tell people why this is a good thing for them. But I also find it funny that no one seemed to have any kind of negative opinions on a basketball court being built.
That's exactly right.
In the White
Tearing up the
House.
tennis court to build a basketball court. Yeah, I mean, it's the president's prerogative. I don't know why this is even a story.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But speaking of stories, there was another story this week, the NBA scandal, where we know a current player and coach were arrested on illegal gambling charges. Diane, do you think the NBA has a bigger issue here?
Oh my gosh. This story was so troubling, TW. It's like these people make so much money every year to be pulled into something like this. I think it's just one of those eye roll moments again for Americans. It's like, really? I mean, and I think a lot of these players, maybe, they don't understand I don't know if they completely understand the game. I don't think they really, maybe they got pulled in innocently. Maybe they got, not innocently, but maybe they got pulled in thinking it was one thing when it was something else. Who knows? But I just think this is a definite stain on the NBA for sure. And it's just a ridiculous story. Again, with the money that they make, this should not even be a thing.
Look, yeah, with the money that they make as well, you're right there. Look, but this sports/politicals pundit, Stephen Smith, has an interesting theory on this. Let's take a listen first before we get some opinions.
We know what world that I live in terms of politics. How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. Remember, Trump has a long, long history connected to the world of sports because he had those casinos. Where do you think folks were coming half the time? I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about the culture.
I have no idea what he's talking about there, Charles. Can you just...
You pick me.
Yeah.
No idea. Absolutely no idea. Maybe he thinks he's saying he knows where the bodies are buried. He knows who's been gambling or whatever. I don't get it. I don't know what he means by that. But I will say that it's really odd. This whole scandal points to human nature, right? You never have enough. And with gambling being legal, it's interesting that people went further than they needed to.
Yeah, but the risk here, Cherie, right, it's that these are players and coaches. They're gambling on an event that they could very well have the ability to influence, right? I mean, they can certainly, as players and as coaches. What are your thoughts on this before we move to the next story?
Well, I do believe Trump is the culture, right? And he goes way back with entertainers, basketball players. But it's fascinating the way that they have come up with this cheating scandal with eyeglasses that can see the cards, with the shuffling machine that can keep the cards in order. Yeah. And so, I think that the players make more money as players than they do hustling and gambling. But the crime families are a part of this whole thing. And, maybe we'll see some heads roll as we've seen many arrests across the country.
Yeah. The glasses and the contact lenses that have...
It's like spy.
This is like spy stuff.
Bond. Yeah.
I did want to get your opinion on this too, Malik, but we've run out of time, so we're going to bring you back next hour anyway. Thank you both for joining us. Diane Canada, Malik Abdul. We'll see you next hour. And Charles and Cherie, stick around because you're going to be here all day with us.
Thank you.